My name is Jessica Beaver, and this is my video observation submission for observation number 1. My UTA ID number is 10020065832. I am pursuing a Master's of Education in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. And this is my first video you're going to see is me meeting with my site supervisor regarding my upcoming presentation and observation.
All right, so I shared with you my presentation on code switching, which is something I'm doing for my observation. And this, I just want to have your eyes on it, get your feedback. What can I add to it, change, whatever thoughts that you think. So I just did this is a little slide on academic and behavioral code switching. I got those sources right from online.
Maybe from the very beginning you add one slide in between of what do you already know about code switching and kind of get their thoughts, because they may have an idea of what it may be or maybe what it's not.
I was speaking to somebody, I think it was Emily, and she said, I think I've heard that before, but I don't know.
So maybe you kind of throw it out there. What do you already know? Talk to your table, have them share out, and then connect back to what it actually is.
Now, should I just leave both on so they know that it can apply to academics and behavioral, or should I just stick to behavior?
No, I would put both.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you already know about code switching? Okay.
Okay, then let's see.
And then there are some examples from a couple articles that I read.
Okay.
I found those online. I can add more to it, but I didn't want it to be too much.
Ooh, this last one, changing their appearance or hiding aspects of their personality. We actually had a scenario like that. We had a sixth grader that in her culture, she wasn't allowed to shave her eyebrows or wax her eyebrows or whatever, and there was some extra hair in the middle. And she was dealing with this peer pressure of feeling like, well, I want to look like my friends, but at home, I'm not allowed to do that. And so we had a conversation of, you're beautiful just the way you are. Right. But even her dealing with that internal struggle of, but why can't I? And then she was going to try to do it on her own without her mom's permission.
Oh, wow.
So I think that was a good part to put in there, because that's not something they're going to.
So kind of just like I'll give some examples of each little bullet point.
Yeah, like maybe you mentioned, like say the first one, they may do subconsciously and not even realize it. Give us some examples of that. Okay. They may want to fit in with social groups. So what have you seen in your classroom that kids are doing? And that's something that she wanted to do to fit in. Okay. She wanted to wear makeup and she wanted to wax her eyebrows.
Okay.
So yeah, I would break down each one of these, talk about it, and then share in your groups of some specific examples. And maybe you're charting those, because those may be good to come back to again when they have more experiences with it and they're noticing it more.
And that's good too. Like as right now, I will be presenting this as an administrator, not as a teacher. Yep. So, you think it's okay to say things like when I'm in the classroom?
Yeah. And you could even do, if you wanted to do more like electronic, you could do a Jamboard with each one of these questions, and then they could go in and as a team put a sticky note on there or something, and then everybody could see it on the screen in real time.
Oh, and we could also, that could be a table talk. That could be a table talk, TT. And then this can be some type of electronic. So how would I have to share this presentation with everybody?
I'm trying to remember how I've done Jamboards in the past. I think that you just have to share the link to the Jamboard and make sure they have editor access.
Okay.
And then they can add their own sticky note and type a response in.
Okay.
And then y'all could talk about them as a group once you see everybody's up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then, switching your brain from home to school and talking about what that means, because I've been saying that all year, but maybe they don't understand, what does that actually mean? And how do we explain it to staff, but then how does staff turn around and explain that to the kids to where they understand? And the research shows you're not supposed to negate what they're taught at home. Like, at home, mama says you can do whatever, okay? But here at school, these are our expectations at school. Then you're not saying you can't do what your mom or dad has already told you to do. You can do that at home, But at school, this is what
and we can tie that into our.
Yep.
Those are our values.
Mm-hmm.
And then our mission.
Yep.
I should put that mission on there too. Those are the. We are respectful.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I had to think there for a second.
Yeah, and then like I always stopped on own it. Like, what does that actually mean? Because a lot of kids were not owning what they were choosing to do.
Okay.
Yep.
So I went into data in this slide based on the referrals.
That's perfect.
Referral data. So they actually have numbers. So we don't say we had a lot of referrals this year and this. So it actually gives them.
Yes.
And I know Angie said that this was the highest number of referrals that she has seen.
Yes. Very high number. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and I like this.
I also want to add, do you think it's okay to add on there information about how many ISS, Crossroads?
And Angie has that report. I don't know what the report is called, but Angie can run that because it'll tell you like ISS, Crossroads, lunch detentions, administrator conference. It breaks it down. And we're really heavy at the bottom when really we should be heavy at the top and not at the bottom. Like it should be heavier on administrative conference, lunch detention, then ISS, Crossroads. But it's because we aren't utilizing those pre-interventions first.
Okay.
And that's where we want to have that conversation. Don't forget, if you're having issues, let us know. Let's have a conversation, and then we could do an administrative conference as a first intervention.
Okay.
Rather than waiting too late to where now the behaviors are so escalated that now we have to do something different. But it's going to be really important to remind them that when they say, well, my mom said or my dad said, that they don't say, well, that doesn't matter. Or, we're here at school. Like, you say, okay, yep, those are exactly what you should do at home. That's what they tell you to do at home. But at school, this is what we do. That way you're not crossing off what they've learned to do at home.
That's a good point.
And if you do that, it severs the relationship between the student, between you and the student and the family, because they're thinking, well, now you're telling me I can't even do what my parents told me to do.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Okay. And then this was a chart.
Yes.
Now this was, I don't know if I should just leave this like that. I can also add on here about Crossroads, ISS, lunch detention, and administrative consequences.
Yeah. Maybe you show this and then say, okay, with these offenses, these were the interventions that were done. And then maybe that's when you can mention that we got to do more earlier interventions so that we could utilize these first steps like administrative conference, lunch detention.
Okay.
To develop those tools.
So show chart and then maybe add another slide.
With this similar chart, but then having like lunch detention, administrator conference, ISS, and then break down the numbers for that.
So you call it interventions?
Okay.
Administrator
directed interventions.
Okay, administrator directed
due to referral.
Okay.
And then who are affected? Yep.
Which is us. Those lower socioeconomic status students. And then I didn't know who else I should maybe put in there. Because it's not always low socioeconomic, but it is mostly our campus.
Yes.
But we have certain subpopulations.
Like, and we've talked about the cultural things, like
right.
when you tell a certain student from the Arabic culture to look at you in your eyes, they're not really supposed to do that. And then also, really, any student that their mom and dad tells them something, and then we say, well, nope, you're not going to do that, you're going to do what I say. That could be all students at this school, not just the low socioeconomic. But you do see it more, the effect a little bit more with the lower socioeconomic status. Okay. And then goals. Yep.
The SMART goals. Should we add anything about these little intervention numbers, or should we just leave it as, because this is the first stepping stone here on campus that you deal with?
Yeah,
if we have a decrease in those, then we would have an overall less CR, Crossroads, ISS.
Yeah, I think we need to have both, because we might see more referrals, but that's because people are targeting it a little bit earlier for an administrative conference before it ever gets to an ISS.
So you want to think we should put SMART goals for, because you said you have,
for those placements.
Do you know how many we had?
I don't have them off the top of my head, no.
Yeah. Maybe that's on that sheet she gave me.
I think she gave you that. It had like Crossroads,
it had
ISS, lunch detention.
It had number codes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's like
I
coded?
think
I'll go back and look,
that.
and I wrote a list. I was like furiously writing what the codes meant.
Okay.
So I'll look at that first before.
Look and see.
If not, I'll just send her an email.
But I think we should have goals on this too.
Okay.
Because like I said, we might show that we have more referrals, but what was the actual next step intervention?
Okay.
And we want to watch. We want less ISS and Crossroads and more of those early interventions.
Okay. Okay, so I'll add another slide for that too. Just like this slide here of adding a slide with, where did I have that? Right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That was this data.
Yes.
I'm going to put an arrow here
Okay.
in my notes. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, no.
So then on this slide, what I did was I did a lot of thinking in a teacher's perspective, something that was easy to do.
Okay.
We don't want teachers, I don't want anyone to think, oh, this is something else I have to do.
Yes.
But these are just natural things that I felt like teachers can do, and we could change it, add it, because we've done a lot of talking about.
And you know what, too? Maybe we could start tracking the number of positive office visits that we get.
Oh.
Because we get them, but we don't track them in any kind of system. So that might be cool, because we wanted the opposite. We want more positive offices. I don't like to call them referrals. I like to call them visits versus the referrals. So it might be good to track that. Okay. And then also maybe set a teacher goal. Hey, it's your goal every 6 weeks to turn in at least 4, or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
And then teachers really do it if you already copy them and put them in their box.
Yes.
I noticed that.
Yes.
You can have the stack available and people get busy, but when you put them in the box, then they get turned in.
I know, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, we're busy.
Yeah, so we could do that and then give them a goal. It's your goal to turn in at least whatever number we decide. That's
something I'll add to the list.
Okay, then also I thought that the execute plans with your teams, we're going to develop something like that teams are going to do at the beginning of the year.
With the survey. The survey.
So they're going to be already developing all those plans.
Should I just leave it like it is?
Yeah.
Then? Okay.
And then, of course, understanding behaviors are not black and white.
And I can teach from, I planned on using my own experience where I used to be a black and white teacher. Yes. And I relied on power struggles with my students. Yeah. And it took an administrator to sit me down and be like, you know what? I'm going to tell you, it's black and white. Yep. How you approach one student is not how you approach another student, and you got to understand everything that they're coming in. And it was an aha moment for me.
And teachers will teachers have told me, well, where's the book that says like hitting equals this? Well, there's not.
There's no book
because you have to consider the mitigating, and you probably need to add that slide in here.
Mitigating
factors. And those are the age of the student, the intent of whatever happened, their disability, their the number of occurrences that they've already had. Like, all those things have to be considered. So that's why it is not black and white. A kindergartner kicking someone is different than a 6th grader kicking someone. Also, an autistic student kicking someone might be looking a little different than a student that doesn't have autism. Not that we're providing excuses, but we have to consider all of those things.
Right.
And I think that'd be good to mention here, because we're going to continue to mention that.
So maybe number 8 should be its own slide.
Yeah.
Like this right here.
Yes.
Can be its own slide, and I can talk about my personal experience, list mitigating factors that we do need to consider when we are addressing behavior. And
as much as you can mention your own experiences, the better. Okay. Because when we get up there, we're the principals. So yes, you get what you're saying, But when they hear it from their own colleague, then it's going to be different, because they're going to be able to feel like, oh, I can relate with that. Yeah, I did the same thing, or I used to do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
as much as you can, as much throughout this whole thing. Okay. And not just what you think or your emotion about it. Yeah. What specific examples that you've experienced, and then what you've learned from it is going to be really good and powerful.
Okay.
All right, and then you have your conclusion slide.
Yeah, I mean.
Yep. Yep. I'm not sure. References. Yeah.
So, you think it's a good, like, just beginning point to what because this really goes in line with my practicum plan with the behavior and the referrals. This is a good
starter.
One
other thing you might want to do is create a couple of scenarios that show that code switching happening.
Okay.
Like the example I gave you of that student with the eyebrow, like that's a certain example. Also, like the whole, well, my mom said when someone hits me, I defend myself. And then like an example of what's the exemplar for responding to that? What it is, what it isn't. It's not, well, you're at school, we don't do that here. That's the not way. Okay, the is way might be, or the way we would want them to do it is, you know what, thank you for letting me know that that's what you do at home. I'm so glad you have
this right
safe
here.
example.
I was actually looking, because I know we were talking about that. I was leafing through this, and there was something that I thought, oh, this is something everybody can yell. Now I'm not going to be able. I should have sticky it. Oh, this one right here. Setting limits.
Yep.
Don't talk to me in that tone of voice.
Yep.
I know I've said that. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
I'll be glad to listen to you when your voice is as soft as mine.
Yep. And that's what we'll say up here when they're yelling. Oh, we'll talk to you when you're calm.
So maybe I can put some of these in there. Okay.
Here,
I have a heart.
Sticky note. Okay, perfect.
I like the hearts
Me
that are
too.
sitting here. Okay, so I can add to a. So you think I should have like a slide of, like, these are all
And
these
that
are
might
actually
be a
little
good
scenarios.
one-pager, or like a little tool sheet or something.
But this is like good
sometimes
scenarios.
in the moment you don't have the tool. Yeah, those are good scenarios too.
You get to work. Be nice to each other. Quit fighting. You're welcome to come back as soon as you work that. Oh well. Good luck.
Yeah, we're not going to add the good luck part.
But I'll think of some other things that we say, like I care too much about you to argue with you.
And like try to connect it as much as you can to code switching. Like, all right, well, my mom said when someone hits me, I'm hitting them back, defending myself. All right, thank you for letting me know what your mom says that you do at home. I'm so glad you have a plan to keep you safe at home. But when you're at school, this is what the safety plan looks like.
Okay.
And then even like with sagging pants or whatever, well, my mom doesn't care. Okay, so at home, thank you for letting me know that, your parents allow you to wear your pants like that. But here at school, we need you to pull your pants up because that's your private business. And sometimes you do need to paint the why of why we have to do things at school. Like I tell kids why we can't have hoodies. It's not because I'm mean, it's for safety reasons.
We started saying that too. It's a safety when they would roll their eyes.
Yes.
Well, I understand that you're upset about that because I do like a hoodie on my head
course.
too. I get that.
Yes.
But when we're in school, it's a safety because what if we
right.
had a situation and I had to identify you quickly?
That's right.
I can't see you.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
so that
kids
type of
in
thing.
poverty, you'll see that maybe in this emotional poverty book. Kids in poverty, like if they are homeless or they don't have much, that's how they sleep, and that's their comfort. So if you negate, you can't ever have that on. That's a problem. So you have to explain. So as much as you can bring in those code switching examples, the better.
Okay. So like pants. What else? We have the
hoodies.
hoods.
The fighting, like defending themselves.
Arguing.
Even like arguing, smacking their lips at us. Like I've seen kids do that in front of me to their parent, and their parent doesn't respond.
Yes.
So it's okay when they do it to us. They think it's okay because I do it with my parents, and it's not an issue.
Right, and they don't address it.
Yeah. So you have to teach what we want it to look like at school.
Okay.
We just have to be really careful and not say, well, you don't treat me like that. That's not how we're doing here. Okay, but at home, thank you for letting me know at home this is how you're allowed to act, but at school, this is what we need to do for this reason. Because
if you go the other route, you're inviting yourself into a power struggle.
Yeah, and then they're going to go home and say, well, Miss Beaver said that I'm not allowed to do so-and-so, but you told me I was, so, and then you have this whole back and forth.
And you have
that's
a parent
division
calling you,
between home and school.
Don't tell my kid what to do. And that's not going to build a good bridge.
Nope. So you can validate. Thank you for letting me know what you do at home. Validate, and then teach the school way. That's how I like to put it. Validate whatever they tell you at home, what they do at home, and then teach what we do at school.
Okay. And then should I... At the conclusion, do you think I should? I know we do like I like when people do like the sticky note, the plus delta. I always like that. So maybe if I have everyone do a plus delta on a Post-it and just stick it on here to help me and give me some ideas or what you would like more help on, you think that would be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Plus delta. I never knew how much I liked plus delta until I started working in HEB.
And you could do like aha, like what's something you've never considered or never thought about, but now after hearing this, you're like, makes you think more about it?
Mm-hmm.
Or like I've seen you do a heart and a brain. Like the brain would be what I just said. The heart would be like, what's something you're going to try within the first 2 weeks to kind of stamp on something. And then you also have your feedback on what else they need in the future.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I think that'll be really good. I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
I think it's good. I really tried to think of all the common things that I heard.
Yep.
And it's that switching your brain from home to school. And that's when my professors was like, oh, that's called code switching.
Yes.
And then when I started doing research, it was like a whole Pandora's box of things open. So I think it'll be good. And it's tying and aligning in with like my practicum plan and what your vision is for the campus. So
it goes along with what our campus needs for sure. Okay, anything else?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Beaver, and this is my video submission for observation number 1. My UTA ID number is 10020065832. I am pursuing a master's degree in educational leadership and policy studies, and in this second video, you are going to see me giving the presentation as administrator on code switching to the admin team. Make sure it's going. Okay. All right. Let me get my notes. All right. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our professional development session on code switching, as we're going to be talking about today. And before we get into code switching and what it is and what it looks like, I want you to have a growth mindset. Okay? Have a growth mindset and a self-reflection mindset. By looking at the students in your classroom and the behaviors that you see, and then thinking, how can I challenge or change myself and my mindset to help those students? Because once those babies come through our door, we are their first line of we are their responsibility. We are there to help them. We are there to teach them those behaviors that we want to see in school. So we are that first line. So just have an open mindset as we're going through everything about code switching today. Now, before we go more, what do you already know about code switching? Have you heard it? What do you think you know? I'm going to give you about a minute to turn and talk to each other about what you think code switching might be.
What do you think, Becky? Well, what I heard y'all say is it's the switching of expectations and languages between like home and school.
And kind of understanding where they're coming from in their home life and socialization and culture, and then the same thing about school and us still respecting what their culture is at school, but then showing them, okay, well, this is how we behave at school, this is how things are done at school, and then celebrating culture because we want them to be able to feel comfortable in who they are.
Very good, excellent points. Very good. I heard you all saying about academic language, how they talk at home and how they talk at school, and then how they act at home versus how they act at school. And we want to support what they do at home, but we also want to switch that brain from home to school to say, yes, that may be okay at home and acknowledge that, but when we're at school, we want to do this, this, and that, and teach those behaviors to them. All right, so now let's look at it in a little skit here we have on a video. Okay, I want you to kind of, oh, there goes my timer. Look at that, right on time. I rely on this timer. If y'all don't use a snap timer, I highly suggest it. Okay, when I was in the classroom, I used it all the time. Okay, so here's our little video. I want you to pay attention to what you see the characters doing in this video and see how it relates to code switching.
Thank you, and may God bless America.
Introductions of the shadow. This is John O'Rourke.
Nice to meet you, John.
Ian Roberts.
Nice to meet you.
Peter Tencio.
All right, nice to meet you.
Jerome Smith.
Come. Well, what's up, fam? You know this.
Keith Williamson.
Nice to meet you.
Mary
All right.
Woodbury.
Nice to meet you.
Jay Martell.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Tasha Robinson.
Come on, come on, come on. Feel that?
Emily George.
Nice to meet you.
Daryl Stokes.
Come on. What's up, fam? How you doing? Never forget about that, 'cause that's all we got. Nice to meet you. All right. Bring it in, bring it in. Start from the bottom, now we're here. Yeah. Nice to meet you. All right. Nice to meet you. All right. Nice to meet you.
1/8 black.
Afternoon, out the room. Come on, bring it in.
I'm in there.
You talking in there? What you doing? What you doing? You talking? I'm in there. You come in there. I'm in there. All right. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you. Oh my goodness, look at this. Oh, she is so beautiful. I want another one. There you go. Precious. Beautiful. Beautiful. What's her name?
Oh, this is Livia Ruggi.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Miss Ruggi. Now, come on. There he is. Boom. All right, very good to meet you. All right.
Here we go. Right this way, sir.
Okay. All right. So I want you to turn and talk to each other. What did you notice about the video and how the actor was acting?
Well, he definitely made some assumptions.
Yes.
What do you think?
It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of stereotypical. I mean, I don't think you should assume just because of somebody's, the color of their skin that they're gonna react well to, hey bro,
That's a good point.
I mean, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I never tried to fist pump you.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a natural thing to do. But then I thought the other people, the white people would be like, well, hey, he's not really warm and friendly with us. He's very cordial and
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just awkward to watch.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And you know, students will notice that too.
Yes.
They will notice, hey, my teacher acts this way with such and such, but I don't get that same greeting. Why is that? And that's going to start having them feel right away like there's a divide
Yeah.
in your classrooms. So that's something we want to make sure that we are welcoming everybody. That special handshake, do with everybody.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's a quick, easy thing. You can even do air things if you don't want to touch because, you know, germs are still real. So you can do anything like that with your students to make them feel like they are a part of your classroom. Because if they don't feel a part of your classroom from the get-go, you've already broken that bridge and it's going to be even harder for you to repair it as the year goes on. So very good conversations. All right. Now, we kind of already talked about what code switching is. Y'all are making some great inferences and connections, but code switching can be two different things. Academically, according to an article, code switching refers to the alternating use of more than one linguistic code in the classroom by any of the classroom participants. And this is really going to apply to for your ESL students who are used to speaking a language at home and then they have to come to school and learn how to speak English in the classrooms. So we have to be very cognizant of that. And then behaviorally is switching or manipulating one's behavior to appeal to a different crowd or audience. And this is what we're seeing a lot more in school. We're always going to have the ESL students and those students who don't speak English as a first language. We're always going to have that. But more and more we're starting to see behaviors from home that we really don't want to see in school. So how can we bridge that gap? All right, so according to a couple of articles here, I'm not going to read these out. You can see what they are. Here are some reasons why students code switch, okay? The first one is, I think, the most popular one. I know when I was in the classroom, I heard this all the time. I saw it. They do it subconsciously. They're not even realizing they do it. And what are some examples of things that kids don't see or know they're doing? Putting their hands on each other. They don't even realize that they do it. How many conversations have you had with a student where you saw them put your hands on people and they're like, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. We saw you do it. Let's think about how we can fix that. Yelling to one another. Think about, I know when I'm in the breakfast duties in the morning and I'm seeing those kids come off the bus, they're yelling at each other, they're yelling across the cafeteria. I mean, most of it because they're happy to see each other, thank goodness. But we want to make sure like that's not something that we should be doing in the cafeteria. We are in school. Rolling their eyes. It's my favorite. Yes, they roll their eyes, they don't even know that they do it. And then talking back. They think that's okay to do. And that's not something that we want to see here at school. they want to fit in with social groups. Peer pressure to do certain actions. Okay, when I had recess duty, I had situations where students were playing these games with each other, and they would tell each other, hey, go to so-and-so and push them. And wanting to fit in, they would go do that, not realizing that they have a consequence that comes with it. They just want to fit in with each other. So that's an example of that. They want to actively integrate with otherwise outside groups. So they're changing their behaviors and mannerisms. Okay, I know I've had students where all year they're behaving a certain way, they're following procedure, they're meeting expectations. But then all of a sudden you see a little switch in them maybe halfway through the year, and they're starting to adapt some behaviors of other students that maybe you don't want those behaviors transferring to. You gotta have those conversations, but they're trying to fit in and changing how they behave. They want to avoid negative consequences, so students will want to adjust their behaviors when they're warned. In a perfect world, everyone's gonna fix themselves when you ask, hey, please stop doing that, or there's a consequence or something like that. So they do want to change to avoid negative consequences, and then changing their appearance or hiding aspects of their personality. For example, dressing differently, changing their hairstyle, holding back on their true selves for fear of being different. You know, we had a student here last year in 6th grade who was her cultural background prohibited her from plucking her eyebrows or changing her hair. She had to be a certain way according to her religious beliefs. Well, she felt very inferior, and she talked about harming herself because she feared of being different. She wanted to fit in. So those are things that, beyond academics, that we really need to pay attention to, because had she not come up and spoken about that, how would we know? So thankfully, she was able to feel comfortable to speak to an adult. So there are some examples that we see for code switching behaviorally. Now, switching your brain from home to school. I think that's a good motto for our school here at Trinity Lakes. But we're teachers and administrators. We start off the first thing in the morning announcements. We want to switch our brains from home to school. But what does that really mean? We can say it, but a lot of times we have to put meaning behind it. So that means teaching students how they act and speak at home is not always acceptable here at school. Okay? We want to not negate the phrase, well, my mom and dad said I. Okay? We want to support what they do at home and acknowledge that, but then we want to teach the behaviors that we want to see. My mom and dad said it's okay for me to hit somebody. I'm allowed to hit back. Okay, well, thank you for letting me know how your parents tell you to keep yourself safe when you're at home on the playground and you have no adults to help you. Sure. But when you're here at school, you're surrounded by a lot of adults that can help you out of that tough situation. They may not know that. They're going to do what their parents tell them. Okay. Another one. My parents let me dress this way, wear my pants low. Okay. I'm allowed to do that. Okay, great. Okay. Thank you for letting me know what your parents let you do and how to dress at home and when you're out and about in public. But when you're here at school, we have dress codes, and we want to make sure you cover everything up because, that's your business, keep it covered. Okay, so we want to tell them, yes, thank you for telling me, acknowledge that, what their parents say, because we don't want to injure a parent, but then teach what we want to see here at school. So that's something you have to learn how to do and speak clearly with and be intentional when you talk to them, because we're just reacting and saying, oh no, you're not going to smack your lips at me. Not everyone does it. I've done it too in the classroom, but you're going to have more bang for your buck if you talk to them, acknowledge what they have going on at home, and say, but this is how we do it here at school, and then thank them, appreciate you listening. Thanks, let's work on that. You're going to have a lot more of a response. Now, data showed that 43% of our referrals, because when we get to behavior, we got to talk about the word referral, because it happens. Referrals, we had 43% of our referrals dealt with disruptive and disorderly conduct. That was 111 referrals last year. That's a pretty high number. While 18% of our referrals addressed threats, could be towards somebody else, I'm gonna hit you, some type of a threat, and that was 41 referrals. And then in addition, 11% of our referrals came under the category of persistent level 1 behaviors. That was 29 referrals. So there's our 3 big referral areas for this school year, okay? And we want to constantly, we say it every day, the kids say it every day, our mission, and our values. Now, how many times have you just said something to say and not really comprehend what you're saying? I do it all the time as well. But we want to teach them what it is to be respectful. Have a positive attitude and expect success. Having those conversations, I just can't say that enough. And teaching them the why. We don't just make you do it to do it. We're doing it to teach you how to behave and what to expect here at school. And then that goes right along with our values. And I think our values here at Trail Lakes are fantastic. Do what's right. Aim high, respect others and myself, and own it. Number 4, own it, is a big thing for students. They don't like to own their behaviors. And they want to quickly, well, so-and-so did it first, or so-and-so said this to me. Okay, all right, I understand that was not an ideal situation, but let's talk about what you did and funnel that down to get them to self-reflect. And I think of us as adults. We also have problems sometimes self-reflecting and looking at ourselves in the mirror and seeing deep down, what did I do? Well, how can I fix that? So it's hard for adults, it's even harder for children. So we have to be constantly talking about what those visions and missions look like. All right, and then here's just a little bit more. Here are our top discipline referral stats this year. I did add horseplay, only 12, but still 12 referrals for that. And then fighting with at least 2 people, we had 10. Now, there were a couple more that were like single digits, but I just wanted to keep the top 5. But overall, 261 referrals for the last school year. Yes, that is a lot. That's a very high number. So we need to figure out how we can get those numbers down. Now, on the back end, when you turn a referral into us here at school, we have things that we need to do, and there are protocols and procedures that we need to follow. So here are some of our administrative interventions by the numbers. So ISS, which is one of the most popular ones that we give, 114. So out of all those referrals, we did 114 in-school suspensions. That could be part of the day or full day. Lunch detention, 65. I thought that was a very high number. Okay, we do want those students to be interacting in lunch, but students are going to have consequences. So sometimes those behavioral referrals or things that you've come to us about, we've done lunch detention. Conference or a warning. Sometimes these babies just need a little bit of a pep talk. They really do. You call us to the classroom, yes, they just may need to regroup with us in the hallway. That's okay. It's okay if we just come in and sit with them and just, get their mind right, okay? Because sometimes they need that, and then they're good to go for the rest of the class. Because our goal is to keep them in the classroom. We did send 29 to Crossroads. We had 29 instances where we sent kids to Crossroads, and that is when they are out of class for several days, weeks, maybe months, okay? Actually, that goes down to DAEP. That's our long-term behavior. Withdrawal of a privilege. We've taken something away from them. And then stay-away agreements and bus suspensions. Okay, I know those are small numbers, but still, we do have stay-away agreements with students. We just can't get along no matter what we do, and we do need to give them that documentation. And then a couple instances where we can't ride the bus. But overall, 296 administrative interventions that we have done this past school year. Okay, so we are going to be there for you. We're going to do something. We do want to get these numbers down though. Okay, so be mindful of that. Now, who are affected by code switching? Okay, that's switching those behaviors. Well, the first part is what we see a lot here at Turning Lakes Elementary. We have a high population of low socioeconomic students. Okay, that's a large portion of our school. And they are, according to American Psychology Association, more likely to have higher emotional and behavioral difficulties, including social problems, delinquent behavior systems, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Think about those kids in your classroom. How many times are we seeing ADHD or ADD go undiagnosed? Okay, so we have to figure out how to handle that. And we've gotten feedback from staff that we do need an area of some help with this, which is fantastic. We're going to provide those supports for you. Also, let's switch it to the cultural side. Different cultures also are affected. For example, in the Arab culture, Boys are over-nurtured to the point of entitlement and self-righteousness, while girls are bombarded with rules that restrict most aspects of their lives. And I can speak personally on this matter. I had a student when I taught 4th grade. It was a girl. She's from the Arab culture. She was very quiet in class. Hard time making eye contact with me. At first, I took it as, you should be a little disrespectful because you should make eye contact with your teacher. See, my bad in assuming. We had an online math night, and she attended, and I saw a whole different personality. I was like, oh, this is great. I love how interactive you are. Can you tell me why you feel comfortable doing that at home, and how can we get you to have that in class? And her mom jumped on the call, and she told me, while here at home, my daughter, I don't want to say the name, but is expected to not say much or ask questions. So that's why she feels like that in your classroom, because that's where she comes from. Thank you so much for telling me. That opened up a whole new world of meaning for me. So I was able to work with her and get her confidence built up to speak. And little by little throughout the year, she was more confident in participating in class. And if I had not talked to mom or known that one opportunity opened up a whole door of things that I could do to help her. And by the end of the year, speaking all the time, participating, being a leader in her small group activities. I mean, I have goosebumps now just thinking back to that child. That really affected me and showed me the importance of knowing my student backgrounds, cultural, not just the colors, but who they really are. It's so important. So please think about that when you're looking at your students and why those behaviors are happening. Now, let's talk about some goals. Okay, we always like to talk about goals. This year is over, and we're moving on to the next school year. Okay, and we have nowhere to go but up with things. So the focus for the next school year is to decrease the number of referrals for the top 3 categories that I showed in the first slide. Okay, we want to decrease. So here was our original, 42% of our referrals. We're aiming to decrease by 20%, 89. Now, it's an about number. Are we going to get that exactly? No. Can we get more than that? Yes. Can we get less? Let's hope. Let's not go above 111 though. So that's a focus for us this year. Threats, remember we had 48, the goal was to get 36, so that's a 25% decrease. And these are doable. These are very, very doable if you have some early interventions in your classroom, which we'll talk about. And then persistent level 1 behaviors. 29, let's go for 19. Yes, it's only 10%, it's only 10 less, but it's a 35% decrease. Okay, so these are the numbers that we're gonna be aiming for. Now, does that mean go write a referral? No. If you need it, you write it. And we will talk with you and we will work together on how to handle it, okay? Now, administrative intervention goals, okay? So remember we talked about when you hand us that referral, you have a behavior and you're coming to us in the office, what are we gonna do? Okay, so we're going to try to reduce, I picked the top 3 wild behavior referrals, 261, let's go down, we're gonna aim for 183, 30% decrease, okay? That's our goal, okay? ISS, remember we had 114, we're gonna try to aim for 85, okay? Remember, we want them to be in the classrooms because that's where they're gonna maximize their learning, and if they're not and they feel excluded, then they're not going to perform as well as they possibly could. Lunch detention, we had 65, 25% decrease down to 49, and then crossroads, 29, 19. So that's 10 less, 35% decrease. Of course, these are estimates. We may go over, we may be lower, that's fine. But we really would like to be anything less than what we were this year. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on the data? No? Okay. Now, how are we gonna get those goals? You put all these numbers up here, but how are we gonna do that? Well, it starts with us, y'all in the classroom. It really does, okay? In order to establish these effective education, educators must provide a safe environment that is conducive to all learning styles. So this will help decrease the number of referrals and keep students in the classroom, which is our goal. So let's talk about some actions that we can take. Number 1, form positive relationships with students. That is so important, okay? We want to make sure that we are finding some way to connect with our students, okay? And this is something that I was not very good at when I first got into teaching, but over time, and having conversations with my administrators when I was in the classroom, I learned the importance
of forming those personal relationships. You can connect with the student on any level. You've gained their trust, they're gonna work harder for you, and you're going to be able to manage their behaviors much easier, okay? Track how many positive office visits you fill out, okay? Students love to be acknowledged like that. So maybe make a goal for yourself to write a certain number of 6 weeks, a week, whatever is more comfortable for you. You never want that to feel like a burden to do or something extra. Something that maybe you make a goal for yourself, okay? Make them feel really positive. Create a safe environment for your students, okay? Something that was successful for me when I was in the classroom was letting my students know that this is an environment where you can make a mistake because you're gonna learn. And it's okay to say, I don't know. Once you have that constant conversation, that's gonna go into their mindset. Hey, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay that you didn't know something. How can we help you? How are we gonna fix it? And that gets them thinking, self-reflecting, and taking ownership of their academics and their actions. So that is very, very important. Now, if you don't know what to do, you can always come to us. We will help you. Go to your teammates. Then you can also talk with our guidance counselor. He's got great ideas on how maybe you can make some of those connections. Understand the cultural and behavioral backgrounds of the students and to help understand why they're acting in an inappropriate manner. We had great conversation about that. Understanding who they are, not just data on paper, but who they really are, the whole child. That's very, very important. Form an open dialogue with families to build a strong homeschool connection. Okay, we want to make sure that we are contacting parents for the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay, because we want them to know, hey, this is what we see at school. Because how many parents, and I know y'all can raise your hand, how many parents have said, well, they don't act like that at home? Can Okay. Fantastic. But this is what we're seeing here at school. And I want to let you know, and I want to let you know how we work together. How can we fix that? Intentional conversations with students, especially those who display those behavior struggles, and then explain the why. I care too much for you to argue with you. I love you. I care too much about you to let you sit there and roll your eyes at me because I know that's not who you are. Okay, let them know that you care and why you're doing that. Hey, I'm letting you know you're not turning in your homework all the time. Well, I'm gonna just let you know, as you get older and you have a job someday and you have a boss ask you to do something and you don't do it, what's gonna happen? And they'll tell you, oh, I'll get fired. Exactly. So we're teaching you now to be responsible so that carries with you as you go on through adulthood. So that's why. And then how many go, oh, it makes me laugh. That light bulb. Ensure that your classroom management procedures, policies, and structures are implemented consistently. Okay? Early intervention in the classroom matters. Your classroom procedures matter to the point where you need to think of every little movement those little ones make. And is that a good strategy? If something's not working, remember, self-identify. What can I do to fix that? Okay? Because not everything's gonna work all the time. It's all trial and error. Okay? Like I said, self-reflect. Execute plans with your teams in common areas. I know when I was in the classroom, a lot of my team, we would say, hey, they're fine in the classroom, but when we get out in the hallway or go to recess or lunch, they forget everything that they know. Right. We want to make sure we have routines and procedures in those common areas to avoid. So you want to think ahead or plan backwards on how you can rectify or switch or change anything. My grade level, when I was in 4th grade teacher, we did line order in the hallway. The kids knew where to go, they know who to stand by, and we did it intentionally to get some of our friends who like to come together in the hallway, and it really did make a difference. We were able to get where we needed to go. And then understand that discipline and behavior is not black and white. It is gray. And let me tell you, that was a hard lesson I had to learn in the classroom. I always thought behavior was black and white. You did this, you get that. You did this behavior, you get that consequence. I was like that all the time for every single child. It took an administrator at one of my schools to sit me down and say, you know, Jessica, you're great in the classroom. You know your content, you implement, you execute lessons. But I'm going to tell you something about behavior management. Behavior is not black and white. It is gray. You have to look at the whole child and see some factors that come into your classroom and tells you why that student is acting that way. And I just sat there and looked at my administrator and I was like, wow, I had never been told that before. I was a black and white person. And once I started that mindset, it was hard for me to get over my black and white mindset to my gray mindset, but it took some practice. It took collaboration with my administrators and my peers, seeking PD sessions to help me, and over time, it really does help me. It really does. So we do have to take things into consideration. Not everything is black and white. Now, mitigating factors, like I say, it's not black and white, it's gray. These are some of the areas that teachers and administrators look at to decide for behavior. Disability, does a student have a disability? That does matter, okay? The age of the student. There's a difference between a kindergarten hitting a student than a 6th grader hitting a student. There is a difference. Now, are they both unacceptable? Absolutely. But that's something we do need to consider, because sometimes those little ones, they don't know any better. Well, neither do the older ones, but we still teach them anyway. Intent, what was the intent of that behavior? Was it intent to harm? Was it intent to do something else? So that's something we ask. Disciplinary history, everybody starts with a clean slate, yes. But there is a trail that follows some students, and we do take that into consideration. Do we hold it over them? Absolutely not. Okay, but that's something we do take into consideration. Self-defense, that's a big one. Okay, were they acting in self-defense when they did their behavior action? We also have to look at the CPS and the foster care, and then homelessness. Those are some sadder things that we do have to take into consideration, but that is a factor. Now, something you're going to see throughout the school is this little building bridges and how to create personal relationships with students. So I just want to throw this up here for you to see. If you're stuck with something or you don't know how to make a connection or help with your classroom behaviors, here are some things that you can do. The one little page, I can give it in everybody's box. You can have it in your rooms, and then it'll be around the school. And then, are there more that we can add? Yes, and I'm open to that. Please let me know if you have a great way to build a connection with a student. Please let me know, and we can add it to the list, or we can share it in our weekly memos. But we talked about greeting those students in the morning. Good morning, I'm so happy you are here. Elbow fist bumps, special handshake. Hey, how are you today? How many times do you feel good as an adult when someone goes, hey, how are you doing today? Oh, well, and then they go in and they tell you. Well, you've made that person feel comfortable. Get to know your students outside of school. Hey, what's your favorite activity to do when you're not here at school? What do you and your family like to do on the weekends? That gets them sharing their home life, and you do that too. I know I called it my little Mrs. Beaver's TED Talks, and I would have conversations with students. I would use my personal experiences, things that are going on in my life, and I would share that with the students and figure out how to make that something inspirational for them to, hey, you know what, teachers are real people too. Embrace individuality, okay? You can create an open and safe environment, allow for creative thinking, and promote students taking ownership of their learning. So powerful when a student can do that. Avoid power struggles. And this is where my black and white behaviors came. I was having power struggles all the time. And was I making leeway? No, I was still seeing the same behaviors because they wanted to challenge me all the time. I care too much about you to argue with you. And just walk away. You will be amazed at the face that kids make when you do that. Like, oh, she really just said that. All right, I'm gonna fix myself here. Set clear expectations. Consistently implement routines and procedures and reinforce those positive behaviors. Hey, I love that you're standing there in line with a voice level 0 signal. Thank you for helping my friends know that. That one hard student maybe can't sit in a chair for more than 5 minutes, sat in the chair for 5 minutes. Hey, I noticed that you sat in your chair for 5 minutes today and I didn't have to tell you anything. I love it. Thank you so much. And just walk away. Give them something to feel good about themselves, even sitting in a chair for 5 minutes or 1 minute, it doesn't matter. Be culturally responsive. Set high expectations for all students. Doesn't matter what they come from, you can still set high expectations for your SPED students, your FOSSI students, your GT students, anyone, those low ones who are really low, and those SPED IEPs. You can still set goals for them and be high. Build a positive classroom culture, okay? You want to make sure that they're feeling good about you and your classroom. Is every day perfect? No. That's okay, you're human. But we want to make sure that we maintain some positiveness in our days. Involve families, and then positive phone calls home are also an easy thing to do. I know we don't have a lot of time sometimes, but 1 or 2 a week make a difference. Okay, I would make a list. I would make a list of kids in my class, and I would just check them off. throughout the 6 weeks that I did some type of contact home. So you'll see that around your classroom, or the room, and I can give it to you all to put in your boxes. All right, so in conclusion here, code switching is an ongoing action that we face every day at school. Now more than ever, we must be cognizant of the cultural and behavioral backgrounds of each student in our classrooms. Having those conversations with students about home versus school behavior can help decrease negative behaviors. And if we take the time to form those relationships with students, we create that safe environment, we maintain our structures in our classrooms, and that will negate unwanted behaviors. So we can maximize our instructional time and their learning, because that's the goal. We want to get through our lessons with as little interruption as possible, because we work so hard, and y'all do a great job of planning these lessons for your kids. Y'all care so much. And it's going to help them with their behavior, because they'll be focused. Okay? All right. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So what I would like you to do, because I want feedback, I sent you a link for a Jamboard, and what I would like you to do is go ahead and tell me one takeaway that you had from our our session today. And just go ahead and leave, you don't have to put your name on it, but you can use the sticky note feature and go ahead and leave your note. And if you have any other suggestions, plus Delta, you can add that as well. I want to thank you for your time with me today. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, give me some feedback, and so we can learn more about how we can help our students in the classroom.